Good evening. This is Maestro Critello with a Dawn of Worth 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Today we have a 3v3 on Valderus Refinery. Our first player is WHITEY T-Rex. This is an awesome name. He's playing as the Orc Mekboy. Mekboy is a teleporting ranged hero. Starts off just with that little shooter, can get a bigger shooter. He's also the only hero who can get setup weapons. He can get the beamy def gun or the def gun, and he can teleport with it. He's also got some other tricks up his sleeves, even though he doesn't have sleeves. Next up, we got the Dark Clown. Dark Clown. Sounds like a Dark Eldar kind of thing. He's playing as the Orc Warboss, tanky melee hero. He's got a big-ass chain axe as well as a twin-linked shooter. Pretty powerful, running around in melee, and especially with Warboss buffs like Use Your Choppas and Ard Boys. Finally, on the blue team, we got SuperHooper playing as the Kommando Nob. Pretty subtle and sneaky for an orc. Right now he's, well, this is not too subtle. Just standing right here and right in front of those tactical marines. Now shooting at them. Does a lot of range damage with that twin link shooter. And yeah. Next up on the other team, we got Russ playing as the Apothecary, just standing around in base. Looks like he's got a pretty cool helmet. Healing hero. Not such a great fighter, but very good at healing units like Tactical Marines and Assault Space Marines. Next up, we got 187 playing as the Force Commander, or perhaps playing as the Chaplain. It looks like a Chaplain, and it looks really, really cool. Force Commander, tanky melee hero, can punch vehicles, can disrupt with a battle cry, and especially with a Thunder Hammer. Can also teleport around and just generally be a tanky dude and do what tanky melee heroes do, which is a lot. And finally, we have Haidran playing as the Grey Knight Bro Captain. Yet another tanky melee hero. This one cannot be suppressed or knocked down, and he's got some nice abilities too. Alright, so it looks like we kind of have a pseudo-faction war. I mean, you know, in a way this is a faction war. And I might even say that, because Grey Knights are a Space Marine faction. They are a Space Marine faction. They really are. And it looks like the Orcs right now are doing a little bit better. That could in part be because they have more units. Russ and 187 choosing to do the thing where, well, Russ actually chose to get out a second squad that didn't cost any power, but he chose to make it a second tack squad, so it took a little bit longer. But basically, just the Orcs have had more units on the field out for longer. And they have a lot of shooter boys. Since they all went for the double shooter build, we got a total of 6 shooter boys, which is 6 shooter boy squads, and which actually comes out to a total of 30 shooter boys, which is quite ridiculous. Just the damage potential that's going to have is going to be incredible. And we see a lot of Space Marine heroes go down. Apothecary just went down. Force Commander was down at some point. Warboss is down, but he's back up. Actually, I don't know if the Force Commander was actually down. But I mean, look at all this DACA. In fact, I think all the players have all their shooter boys right here. Yep, every single shooter boy squad is right here. So there are 6 shooter boy squads right here, and we have a Mekboy, and we have the Kommando Nob right here too. Yes. So the range damage coming out of this is ridiculous. Even though not all of them have their big shooters yet, the range damage is just absolutely ridiculous. And I think we're going to need to see some Assault Space Marines and some Interceptors from our Space Marine players. We do have a grenade, we do have tax, and I mean, tax and cover can definitely tank a lot of damage against shooters while dealing a lot. But the thing is, just right now, there's so many shooter boys. A very nice grenade, though, takes one of the shooter boy squads down to 1 model, and Dark Clown needs to retreat them. Meanwhile, Slugger Boy's getting overextended. Whitey needs to get out of there. Oh no, Whitey's going to lose this Slugger Boy squad. So a Slugger Boy squad goes down. Bit of a loss right there. But I mean, these triple shooters, like oh my god. I mean, not triple. It's like quintuple. I think it's like sextuple. That's just so much damage. Especially if they start getting knobs on them. We even have Storm Boys out from 2 of the Orc players. Dark Clown as well as SuperHooper choosing to get Storm Boys. Meanwhile, WHITEY T-Rex actually going for a Looter squad, so he's going for a total shooty build. Dark Clown and SuperHooper going for kind of a more varied composition. They certainly have their DACA in there, but They also, especially Dark Clown's got a lot of melee in there as well. And I mean, we got Storm Boys in right here. Tax cannot afford to just stay there against Storm Boys, especially not this stack squad with only 400 health left. Would very, very quickly lose models, if not the entire squad, if they just stayed there against those Storm Boys. We got Storm Boys running around. Now, Storm Boys, of course, when they do their passive charge, they pretty much do no damage. And Storm Boys, they are so bad in some ways. They're so bad in terms of, first of all, that passive charge, where they just dash and do nothing. So, they have almost no retreat killing potential. Well, not straight out. There are technically some ways, particularly with Bomber Boys, and you also just need to be very careful about when you issue an attack order on a retreating unit so that they don't do their stupid charge. But the Storm Boys are so good in terms of having a 150 DPS power melee out of the gate, and then you can get that 65 heavy melee Nob in tier 2, which is really, really ridiculous damage coming out of this squad. It's better than Banshees. They do only have 60 melee skill, which is something I don't understand either. But, I mean, either way, they're just a very powerful unit. Although, Sluggas and Storm Boys with 70 melee skill, which is the default for melee units, would actually probably be pretty ridiculous. Interceptors jumping in, good choice, and we do have Assault Marines from Russ as well. Interceptors jumping in, and oh no, we have a Shooter Boy squad taking a little too much damage. Luckily, there is some support from this Luda squad right here. And the Mekboy just kind of doing a little bit of Daka, not doing anything too amazing with this Mekboy, just using him as another ranged unit. Alright, back over here. Warboss gets in though. So yeah, I mean, huge difference between the way the Warboss is going to be fighting as compared to the Mekboy. And there we go with a sync kill, tossing aside that Devastator Marine. And 187, apparently his gun's jammed. Here we go. Warboss is retreating. He does have the boss pole. You know, it's weird. I feel like you don't see that upgrade a lot, the boss pole, even though I think there are some crazy things you can do with it. In particular, if you have two war bosses and they both have the boss pole, basically your army can pretty much become immune to suppression. Alright, but looks like the red team doing a good job of answering back. The blue team definitely had a lot of the early pressure, which I think is part of what orcs are very good at, especially with the double shooter boys. But both Whitey and Dark Clown have lost their Slugga boys, which, I mean, in a way it's not a big deal, in a way it is. They won't be as well equipped to make some vehicle plays in tier 1 and tier 2. Whitey is choosing to do it anyway. Actually, Whitey can afford to not have his Slugga boys because he does have a Mekboy. For Dark Clown, it's going to be a bit more of an issue if he wants to make a vehicle play. So he might decide that maybe he'll be the one to get the Weird Boy in tier 2. Or the Stick Bomb. The Stick Bombs. Luda squad in a little bit of trouble, but actually we'll just get out of there just fine. Boss. And the red team even has now another power farm right here. And it was actually the orcs who built this one. So now the Space Marines are actually getting power off of the orc dime. The orcs paid for these generators, but now it's the Space Marines who are getting all this power. And I mean, if we look at their power income, it's plus 71, which is very big, especially for teams where you actually get slightly less power income, I believe, than in 1v1. Here we go with the Death Dread, already out on the field, but, I mean, we got Space Marines. Space Marines are pretty good at adapting to AV. Grey Knights might struggle a little bit more, since this is still Beta 6. But, I mean, Space Marines can certainly switch lanes, and they'll be able to do some nasty things to this Death Dread. Meanwhile, Whitey T-Rex is actually the one with the stick bombers. Alright, back over here, we got a nice big Orc Blob. I'm surprised how much those Scout Marines can just take. Apparently just did not take much damage there, and Dark Clown loses another Shooter Boy squad. So unfortunately, things are not looking as dominant for the Orcs as they started out. Blue team answering back. I mean, red team answering back, while the blue team is losing a few things. But here we go with a Death Dread. Just tying all these things up. And this is Russ right here, who has double tax, and he chose to get sergeants. He could definitely upgrade to missile launchers right now if he wanted. He has the resources. So he could just upgrade to the missile launcher. And this Death Dread without the burners and bits is not that tough. So he could, but he's choosing not to get it. And I'm not sure why, unless, oh, he's getting one missile launcher. All right, back over here. Looks like we had a bunch of orc boys die. And here we go with Mekboy electric armor. Could do some decent damage to the interceptors, but they do teleport out of there. And now we have a Grey Knight Dreadnought. Starts out with a Melta and will definitely give the Death Dread a tough time if he can find the Death Dread. Scout's nearly dying, getting out of there with 2 health. Storm Boys jump in and they do stun on landing. Yeah, you need to retreat immediately from that, because look, that was an immediate retreat, and look at the damage. That was about 40% damage. If you stay in there almost at all, you lose. You can really lose the entire squad, especially with Ard Boys. Warboss does have the cyborg implants, giving the big stomp, and he switches out the Bang Bang Hammer for the Power Claw so that he can now maybe start doing some AV damage to this Dreadnought. And Dark Clown did indeed decide that he was going to be the one to get the Weird Boy, but he needs to back off with that Weird Boy. Ooh, and that's such a great way of shutting down the Weird Boy. And it looks like the Death Dread already went down. I missed it, but probably just from Russ kiting with this missile launcher, as well as using the Melta Bomb on those Assault Marines. Oh, and look at that Weird Boy just taking shots, upgrading to have the Warp Head. And Orcs taking back their Power Farm. And 187 is they're trying to save up for Nobs, but it's actually the blue team that is not really in Tier 3 yet, aside from SuperHooper. And the red team, where they're getting 2 of their players in Tier 3, in part because I think they may have had more control over this contested power farm. And there we go with a Beamy Luda taking shots at the Grey Knight Dreadnought, and Haidran apparently not really noticed yet. Oh no, he really hasn't noticed yet. All right, now he's finally noticed, and he's getting it out of there. You can't afford to not notice against the Beamy Luda, or really any setup AV. And Russ actually loses his Assault Marines. They were fighting some Slugger Boys, which is actually not a very good fight for them, and they pretty much shouldn't fight it. To the extent that they should jump on Slugger Boys and then also use Merciless Strike. But they should not just straight up fight them using their passive attacks. The damage of Slugger Boys is just too ridiculous. And we do have a Nob squad coming out. And again, one of the things I said before, or I said in a different cast, I think. I don't know if I posted it yet. But Slugger Boys, with their Nob, have a higher base DPS than Nobs. And Storm Boys as well also have a higher base DPS than Nobs. Even when the Nobs have their Nobs. Although I'd say the huge hammers will probably eventually, once they start winding up, that will actually tip the damage in favor of the Nobs, and then they will be doing more damage. But just with just these chain axes, the Nobs actually have lower base DPS than the Storm Boys and the Slugger Boys. Of course, they do have the advantage though of having heavy melee on every single one of their models. Alright, over here we have some hugely overextended Slugger Boys, as well as a Weird Boy who did a special attack right there to knock them over. And he probably needed that to survive. And oh no! These Storm Boys down a little. Oh no! Alright, he puts Ard Boys on them, and they will probably save him with those Ard Boys. Where's that Mekboy? Alright, Mekboy's right here. And these tacks are just taking damage. Where's the Apothecary? Apothecary's right here, and he's got his double tacks, but they still took a model loss just from all this shooter fire. Still 3 shooters right here. Dark Clown just lost his last shooter. So now there are only 4 shooters. But the shooters that are here are starting to become veterans, getting levels, getting experience. You need to not fight these strike squads in the face, though. And oh no, this is another terrible position for this Shooter Boy squad. This is going to be another dead Shooter Boy squad, I think. 2 health, 3 health, and yes. That one goes down, so Whitey loses a shooter. So now half of the shooter squads have actually died. And Dark Clown finally going to tier 3. Nob's probably going to take out the Apothecary and retreat, and yes, they do. Even got a sig kill. Go for attack model. Oh, take out the tax sergeant. Not a bad. That was nice actually. Taking out the tax sergeant. That was definitely worth it to go for it. For a moment, it looked like this tax squad was going to get out of there without losing anything. Oh my God, more? All right, unfortunately, only the sluggers were really doing work there because the Storm Boys are terrible at killing on retreat because they just jump forward and do nothing. All right, let's see how they're going to manage this engagement. Storm Boys jumping in predictably on the Devastator Marines. Probably going to get hit by a shotgun, but this should still nevertheless be enough to force off these Devastators because you really, really cannot play around once Devastators get jumped by Storm Boys because, again, if you do not react, you will lose the squad in about 3 or 4 seconds. There we go with a Kommando Nob using the grappling hook, I think, to teleport himself and almost wipes the Scout Squad with his shotgun. With his own shotgun. Meanwhile, he's also got the sneaky infiltration kit. That's how he got the grappling hook. It also removes the energy drain from infiltration and increases his health and energy regeneration. Triple cap now for the blue team, but they do have, in terms of real VPs, they are at a disadvantage, 192 to 208. And these knobs right here, still, they're getting their huge hammers. These knobs have their huge hammers as well. This one does not even have Frenzy, though. It does not have Meaner and Grainer. Double Shooter Boy still in here for SuperHooper. But they're being chased after by a Power Axe and Purification Rites Apothecary. This is generally one of the better builds if you really want a fighting Apothecary, because it's his most powerful weapon, as well as you can even use Purification Rites on himself, and he can get energy back from the Power Axe, which allows him to heal, which allows him to use his heal more. Nevertheless, he still died there, charging straight into a blob, leading without enough support, really. As much as this can be a fighting build, it was not well utilized right there, and he is still not a Force Commander, even with that build. Stick bombs go in, taking out a few models, I think. I don't think it actually took out a few models. I don't think it took out any models. But here we go with Knobs going after this Land Raider. This Land Raider is in a terrible position, and this Land Raider, I think, might even die. We have everything chasing after this Land Raider. This is definitely a dead Land Raider. And oh man. So Russ losing his Land Raider, retreats his Tactical Marines, and they're retreating through a bunch of stuff. One TAC model goes down. Meanwhile, 187 has a Land Raider Redeemer of his own. Let's not go Vance Stubbs on this, or forget which. I think Vance Stubbs wasn't Vance Stubbs the Dark Crusade? Yeah, he was the Soulstorm Imperial Guard Commander. But anyway, let's not try to lose too many of these Land Raiders. I imagine they're expensive. And if not expensive, I imagine they were made a really long time ago. And they're antiques. We even have a rocket launcher Kommando Nob, who's going to go down, kind of overstaying his welcome trying to capture that point. He does get it, but is it worth it? And now we do have some Terminators out for Russ. Going to be doing a lot of range damage. Going to be able to be a very good answer for the remaining Shooter Boys. Even at level 3, they will lose quite significantly to these Terminators, who both do more damage while also taking a lot less, or tanking a lot less. Tanking, either one. Orbital Bombardment right here. What is it going to get, though? It gets the Bro Captain. Pretty much the Bro Captain. I think maybe a Storm Boy squad was finished off and all of that. Nope. Storm Boy's just fine. The Storm Boy Nob went down. But yeah, that mainly just hit the Bro Captain. triple cap now for the red team. We got some Devastators with advanced targeting. Actually doing some pretty good damage to these Nobs. And Nob's actually taking a lot of damage, and they're going to need to get out of here soon. And there we go, the rocks right on top of the Land Raider. Oh no, 187 pretty much not reacting. And, well, I mean, his rocks took some damage. His Land Raider took some damage, but actually didn't die. I actually feel like maybe there wasn't enough support to really follow that up. And most of the units just went inside the Land Raider. So 187 actually did not hurt much at all from that rocks. I mean, his Land Raider took some damage. It's okay, he's got scouts, he can repair it a bit. He just needs to actually repair it a bit. But it is actually really tough for all of these, certainly these shooter boys. They can't just head-to-head fight these Tacs and the Terminators. It's not going to work. Again, they're just going to take too many losses without actually doing enough damage to the Terminators, or even the Tacs at this point. Tacs at level 3, both of them at level 3. And we have a Warboss right here, switching out, now has the Trophy Rack to reduce the damage of the units that he gets in range in. He's also got the Heavy Armor, giving him an extra 900 health. Right now he's got a total of 1,848. Once he gets more levels, he can actually be over 2,000. Alright, Bro Captain's getting revived by the Force Commander. Force Commander just holding his hammer.
Smash 'em good.
So 187 says he has his population capped. He's actually, he's probably says I'm capped at pop, but he actually doesn't have to kill something. He could get a unit that's, he's probably trying to buy like a tank or something, or Terminators, and he doesn't have the population for that. He would probably have the population for like another Tac Squad or Plasma Cannon Devastator, but he has the resources to get something like a Terminator Squad, so he probably wants that. Another thing 187 could do is he could also just let a few Scout models die, or let a few Devastator Marine models die. In other words, letting models die instead of a whole squad. And then he can keep that squad out on the field and all the utility that squad brings. But, and then he can still get another, a different unit. Unfortunately for 187, he's about to just straight up lose his scouts. He also lost his Force Commander, and everything's going in right here with some Nobs in right here. I don't even know what the Nobs are going for. I think they would be going for the Land Raider Redeemer, but they must have been going for the units that were protecting the Land Raider Redeemer. And the Land Raider is actually still in decent health. And SuperHooper is not AFK. I don't know what he's talking about. But I think that must have been a foot. No, I don't know what that was. But Land Raider definitely took a lot of damage this engagement. It's about to drive right into some Nobs, which is not the right place to drive. The Nobs are at somewhat low health, and oh my god, a lot of Orc squads are dying. And I mean, I think this could be the winning engagement maybe for the red team. Doing very, very well at this point. I mean, they got Assault Terminators, Grey Knight Terminators. They got a Land Raider. They're starting to hit that Space Marine snowball. Maybe it's also a Grey Knight snowball right now, but Space Marines are Grey Knights. Grey Knights are Space Marines. If we do a logic class, not all Space Marines are Grey Knights, but all Grey Knights are Space Marines. Or maybe, well, technically, there might be some units in Grey Knights. There might be Inquisitors for the Grey Knights and a Vindicare Assassin, but all of the units right here we see for the Grey Knights are, in fact, Space Marines. No one's got rocks on the blue team. And 187 is saying that he needs to suicide something to get more Terminators. Again, he doesn't need to. What he can do is let a few scout models die, let a tac model die, let a stern guard model die if he really wants to get Terminators. As it is, he lost his I think he lost his Devastator. Maybe to get that first Terminator spot, he actually let the Devastator die. And is that going to be a GG? Someone called it a GG, but it's not a GG yet. 6-66. And I don't even know what's happening right here. It's just a... Oh my god. And there are a lot of things dying, but I don't even know what. And the Orcs just going for that cap. They're running out of time. We got a Pain Boy? A late game Pain Boy. Oh, because he wanted to implant one of those units. He probably wanted to put some kind of implant on Nobs. Oh no, Pain Boy's gonna go down. Oh no. Alright, I think that's it for the blue team. With all heroes down. And losing most of their squads and units.
The Warboss we liked is back at his own camp. The Kommando we liked sneaked his way all the way home, looks like.
Here's an orbital bombardment, just for the fun of it at this point. And Nob's in here, almost not even doing anything, because we had an Apothecary with the armor of the Apothecary and doing some healing. Alright. Hope you enjoyed the cast. Have a good night.